There's a moment, quiet and almost invisible, that most people never notice. It happens late at night, when the noise finally settles, and you find yourself staring into a dark ceiling, searching for something you can't name. You think back through the day, how you smiled when you needed to, answered when you had to, and carried yourself in a way that made it seem like everything was fine. Because that's what you do, every day. You hold it together so well that even you start to believe it sometimes. But beneath that practiced calm persona, beneath the easy answers and steady hands, there's a quiet ache that never leaves. You wonder if anyone can see it. You wonder if anyone even wants to. Carl Jung once warned us. The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. But what about the unlived life inside ourselves, buried beneath politeness, perfection, and the desperate need to seem okay? Every time you convince yourself you're fine, another stone settles deeper inside you, another part of your real self fading into the background, until one day, you forget what it even feels like to be real. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're not weak for carrying it. Stay with me, because by the end of this you may realize the very strength you thought was keeping you afloat may be the very thing pulling you under. You move through your days like a quiet warrior, calm, composed, efficient. People admire how you handle things. They trust you to stay strong. They lean on you, without ever really asking if you're okay. And you deliver. You smile. You say you're fine. You carry the weight of 2, sometimes 3 lives, without ever letting your own pain show. But beneath all that, behind the smiles, the helpfulness, the steady voice, there's a growing emptiness you can't explain away. It doesn't happen all at once. At first, it's just a quiet fatigue, a need to rest that never seems to be enough. Then one day, you realize conversations feel hollow. The laughter sounds distant. Even your victories feel like they belong to someone else. You wonder when you started drifting. You wonder when surviving became your identity. Carl Jung understood this hidden fracture. How the false self grows louder, while the true self fades into silence. We tell ourselves we're just tired, just busy, just pushing through. But deep down, there's a quiet knowing you can't shake. The life you're living isn't fully yours. And the longer you pretend it is, the more invisible you become, even to yourself. But this surface-level discomfort is only the beginning. You keep moving, because slowing down feels dangerous. Because if you stop for too long, you might have to admit how hollow it's become. You respond to messages. You meet deadlines. You laugh when you're supposed to. You stay reliable, steady, indispensable. But inside, a quiet rebellion begins. Carl Jung called it the revolt of the shadow, the parts of you pushed aside to survive, gathering strength in the dark. At first, it's subtle. A hesitation before answering a simple question. A flash of anger you can't explain. A loneliness that settles even when you're surrounded by people. You tell yourself it's nothing. That everyone feels this way sometimes. That if you just stay busy enough, it will pass. But it doesn't pass, it compounds. The longer you live inside the performance of being fine, the further you drift from the parts of yourself that once made life vivid, wild, real. The dreams you used to have. The anger you weren't allowed to show. The tenderness you were too afraid to need. They don't die, they wait. They wait beneath the surface of your life. In the sleepless nights. In the conversations that leave you feeling unseen. In the victories that taste like ash. And if you listen closely, even now you can hear them. The parts of you that never stopped longing to be real again. This isn't weakness. This isn't failure. This is the cost of a life lived too long inside the expectations of others. And if you keep ignoring that quiet pull inside you, the part that aches for something truer, it will find other ways to be heard. Ways you can't control. Ways you can't hide. You can only bury yourself for so long before the cracks begin to show. At first, it's small. An outburst you can't explain. An exhaustion that no amount of rest can heal. A sadness that clings even on the best days. Carl Jung warned, what you refuse to face within will eventually make itself known without. The shadow you work so hard to silence begins to speak, Not in words, but in missed moments, in broken connections, in a life that no longer feels like it belongs to you. You thought you were protecting yourself. By being strong, by being invulnerable, by being fine. But maybe the real danger was never in falling apart. It was in convincing yourself you never needed to. Because the truth is, you are already breaking, quietly, invisibly, every time you pretend you don't need more than survival. Healing doesn't come from tightening the mask. It comes from letting it fall away. You don't heal by perfecting the performance. You heal by allowing yourself to be seen. In all your grief, your rage, your tenderness. You heal by stepping into the places you've spent a lifetime running from. And maybe, just maybe, you don't have to hold it together anymore. Maybe you were never meant to. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not broken for wanting more than a life of pretending to be just fine. Somewhere inside you, beneath the survival mode, beneath the worn-out smiles, a deeper self has been waiting for you. Not a better version of yourself. Not a fixed version either. Just the real one. Your true self you have been burying within. The part of you that still dreams, even after all the disappointments over the years. The part of you that still aches, even after all the pretending you're always just fine. The part of you that never truly gave up, even when you tried so hard to silence it. Carl Jung believed that true individuation, true becoming, doesn't come from achieving some higher, perfected self for the world to see. It comes from you reclaiming the pieces you were taught to abandon, the anger you were told to swallow, the tenderness you buried because you had to, the needs you were to be ashamed to share. They aren't your weakness. They are your humanity. They are your map back to yourself. You were never meant to be fine. You were never meant to be invulnerable. You were meant to be whole, messy, luminous, unfinished, and real. And even now, even in the tiredness, even in the ache you can't quite name, that real self is still here. Still waiting for you to come home. You don't have to force it. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. You only have to begin. By listening. By softening. By remembering. Maybe the true work isn't in becoming something more, but in unlearning the ways you abandoned yourself just to survive. Maybe healing isn't some great transformation you have to chase, but a quiet returning to the parts of you that never stopped believing you were worth saving. It won't happen all at once. It won't feel clean or easy. But somewhere inside the cracks, inside the silence you've spent so long avoiding, there's a life waiting for you. Not a perfect life. Not a painless life. But a real one. The question isn't whether you're strong enough to keep carrying it all. The question is, when will you finally choose to set it down? When will you finally choose to come home, to the parts of yourself you thought you had to leave behind? If this resonated with you, you're not alone. There's a whole world inside you still waiting to be remembered, still waiting to be lived. If you're ready to uncover those hidden parts together, you're welcome here. Because you are worth finding.